For thousands of years, the location of Mount Sinai has been lost from our knowledge. Despite the claims of Jebel Musa, the traditional site in the southern Sinai Peninsula that still carries the name of Mount Sinai, most researchers reject this mountain as a plausible option. A few problems with the site are its dubious origins. It was dubbed during the 4th century AD, when identifying scriptural sites was becoming vogue. Also, its distance from Kadesh Barnea seems much too far for the 11-day journey described by the book of Deuteronomy. The question then remains to trouble researchers and laypeople alike: where is the real Mount Sinai? To give some perspective on how troubling this question has been, today there are at least 14 different mountains that have been argued to be the real Mount Sinai. Some are located within the traditional understanding of the Sinai Peninsula, while others more daringly locate the mountain in modern-day Saudi Arabia. No one is sure exactly when the original knowledge of the location was lost. The only tradition outside of the Old Testament comes from the Babylonian Talmud that describes Mount Sinai as a low mountain. Researchers' inability to come to a consensus about the Mountain of God is both interesting and frustrating to them and others. The Bible is not vague in its description of the route of the Exodus, or the distance of the mountain from other landmarks and cities. It is known that Mount Sinai was a 60-day journey by foot from the Israelite cities in Egypt, and that it was an 11-day journey by foot to the city of Kadesh Barnea. The mountain was also easily accessible to the people of Midian, though it was not necessarily within Midianite territory. It is tempting to think that Mount Sinai will never be properly identified, or even that we're not supposed to find it. Right now, you and I are going to focus on the claims of some that Jebel el-Lotz should be considered as a prime candidate for Mount Sinai, the mountain of God visited by Moses. A candidate for the biblical Mount Sinai has been located and researched by brave explorers Robert Cornuke and Larry Williams. And they're not the only ones clinging to Jebel el-Lotz as Mount Sinai. Its claims are striking. Located in Saudi Arabia, at the edge of the ancient land of Midian, sits the mountain protected as an historic site by the secretive Saudi government. Apparently, the most bizarre and obvious feature of the mountain is that its peak is blackened. Upon investigation, Cornuke and Williams discovered that while the outside of the rocks are completely blackened, the insides are normal stone. In Exodus 19, God is said to have descended on the top of the mountain like consuming fire. The rest of the puzzle pieces seem to be there as well. There are remnants of huge boundary markers in a semicircle around the base of the mountain, just like the ones Moses placed at Mount Sinai. A very large altar has been identified at the bottom of the mountain, along with 12 bases of carved stone, just like the 12 pillars Moses set up. A little distance away, another altar has been found, also in protective custody of the government, but this altar is made of huge boulders. It's flat on the top and has etchings of Egyptian-inspired bulls and calves. If this is Mount Sinai, then this is the sinful altar of the golden calf. There are some traits of Mount Sinai we still haven't covered: the miraculous provision of water promised in Exodus 17, and the cave where fleeing Elijah spent some time. Jebel el-Lotz does have a cave, but that's nothing compared to its dried-up riverbeds. Not only are there dried waterways coming off of Jebel el-Lotz, there's also a strangely split boulder at their head. Exodus 17:6 says, "I'm going to stand in front of you on the rock of Horeb. When you hit the rock, water will come out of it, and the people will drink."